You may be familiar with the stages of change model developed by James Prochaska and Carlo DiClemente, or the stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, but you've probably never heard of the stages of change grief model, an adaptation of the stages of change model into now. Let's discuss the grief model. This framework can be used to assess, track, and monitor where one may be located in their process, modify behavior, and build healthier habits in the process. I developed this adapted model about 4 years ago to help individuals manage their expectations of what to expect of themselves or someone else navigating grief or even the process of grief. For example, the pre-contemplation stage of change, where there is no awareness there is even a problem. In the context of grief, this can look like masked grief, where you may not even be aware of your reaction, but others around you may notice. And so at that point in time, you may not, or an individual may not see a reason to take any action, and they would be considered in the pre-contemplation stage of this stage of change grief model. Now, contemplation within this context looks like recognizing, there's some signs that you may feel stuck or that there's a problem, but you're not quite sure you're ready to take any action. And this example within the context of grief is delayed grief, where you don't have a reaction right away to the loss event itself, but it may come later down the line. And so, again, at that point in time, others may recognize that you're struggling or there's an internal struggle connected to the loss event or the grief. And so we would call this the contemplation stage of change within this stage or model of grief. Now, the preparation stage, you have this determination and there's a recognition that there's a problem. So, for example, within this context, you may begin to start to seek support by way of grief counseling or even grief therapy or general mental health support. And that is an action stage, or the stage right before taking action, but it really is an action stage because you're in progress of taking action, which goes to the action stage itself within this context of the stages of change framework. So this could be the hardest part, because you're doing the work. This is a part of the accountability process, which can be different, especially if it's your first experience in any type of counseling or formal support. Even if it's informal support, talking to friends or family, this could be a difficult experience, especially if you are not accustomed to expressing yourself, your innermost deep thoughts and feelings. And so this could look like mourning. And we know that mourning is the outward expression of grief. And grief is the internal experience that may surface during our loss or reaction to loss. And lastly, within this framework that you see here is maintenance. This is where you may begin to use the tools and skills to maintain your mental health. And so, again, as an example within this context, that can look like, again, utilizing the support network that you have, or if you don't have, therapy could also be a foundation to building those supports. And in the meantime, therapy can also serve as that support network in the meantime. So, did you find this micro lesson helpful? To sum it up, we talked about the origins of the adaptive framework shown here, the theory behind it, and how it can be applied in practice. Thank you. This is Dr. Jasmine Cobb. We'd love to engage with you in the comment section. Stay tuned for more.